Hey y'all, so today I have on my anti-status tee. Today's a good day as any to be an anti-status because let me tell you. All right, y'all, if you want one of those, just click the link below in my description box. So let's go ahead and jump right into this story. So, y'all know for a while now, I mean, it's been for a couple of years at this point, I've been talking about how the Black Lives Matter national organization is full of it, how it's nothing but a capitalistic pariah that is making money by eating off the emotions of people. I mean, that's just what it is. And so, every day more and more comes out to confirm their belief. And so y'all have to read this article with me because I'm just tickled. I'm just tickled. So AP News got an exclusive with Black Lives Matter about their finances. Let's go ahead and take a look at this, y'all. The foundation, widely seen as a steward of the Black Lives Matter movement, says it took in just over 90 million last year, according to a financial snapshot shared exclusively with the Associated Press. The Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation is now building infrastructure to catch up to the speed of its funding and plans to use its endowment to become known for more than protests after Black Americans die at the hands of police or vigilantes. We want to uplift Black joy and liberation, not just Black death. We want to see Black communities thrive, not just surviving. Reads an impact report the foundation shared with the AP before releasing it. So just as this new administration comes in, just as the Biden administration and Kamala Harris come into the White House, just as Black Lives Matter is receiving the most attention and the most money that it's ever received, a organization that is known for specifically dealing with police brutality is now just coincidentally all of a sudden don't want to just deal with police brutality anymore. Now they want to deal with Black joy and liberation. Like, you can't make this up. It's like I've said, this is actually the perfect excuse to put some of those brutality stories to rest for now. Let y'all chill out for a second and enjoy this new administration. Keep y'all content, keep you pacified for the next few years. It just makes sense. So they're telling you they're going to reel back. We've already noticed, anybody that's paying attention, we've already noticed the decrease in police brutality stories going viral lately. Do we really honestly think that similar things aren't still happening? Do we really think that? So this is the perfect way to ease into it and make it seem like it's still some Black celebratory, yeah, Black boy joy, Black joy, liberation. And the whole time they really are trying to change the narrative. They're shifting the conversation a different direction. Like, you can't make this stuff up. But let's keep reading. This marks the first time in the movement's nearly 80-year history that Black Lives Matter leaders have revealed a detailed look at their finances. The foundation's coffers and influence grew immensely following the May 2020 death of George Floyd, a Black man whose last breaths under the knee of a white Minneapolis police officer sparked protests across the United States and around the world. Their growth also caused long-standing tensions to boil over between some of the movement's grassroots organizers and national leaders. The former went public last fall with grievances about financial transparency, decision-making, and accountability. The foundation said it committed $21.7 million in grant funding to official and unofficial Black Lives Matter chapters, as well as 30 Black-led local organizations. It ended 2020 with a balance of more than $60 million after spending nearly a quarter of its assets on the grants, funds, and other charitable giving. In this report, the Black Lives Matter Foundation said individual donations via its main fundraising platform averaged 30.76. More than 10% of the donations were recurring. The report does not state who gave the money in 2020, and leaders declined to name prominent donors. I wonder why. I wonder why. They used to name their donors. Now they did, maybe because it was right around election time. Last year, the foundation's expenses were approximately $8.4 million. That includes staffing, operating, and administrative costs, along with activities such as civic engagement, rapid response, and crisis intervention. So if y'all remember, I covered this maybe like a couple of weeks to a couple months back, and they were already estimating that literally most of the money that Black Lives Matter was bringing in was going to like staffing and travel fees and administrative costs. Okay. One of its focuses for 2020 will be economic justice, particularly as it relates to the ongoing social economic impact of COVID-19 on Black communities. Sure, the easiest transition to not, because now you could just go COVID, 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 Black people dying more, and you can just push the whole police brutality thing under the rug, or just haphazardly talk about it whenever you feel like, you can or should. The racial justice movement had a broad impact on philanthropic giving last year, according to an upcoming report by Candid and the Center for Disaster Philanthropy. 35% of the $20.2 billion in the U.S. funding dollars from corporations, foundations, public charities, and high net worth individuals to address COVID-19 was explicitly designated for communities of color. After the 2013 acquittal of George Zimmerman, the neighborhood watch volunteer who killed 17-year-old Trayvon Martin in Florida, Black Lives Matter founders pledged to build a decentralized movement governed by consensus of a members collective. In 2015, a network of chapters was formed as support and donations poured in, but critics say the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation has increasingly moved away from being a Black radical organizing hub and become a mainstream philanthropic and political organization run without democratic input from its earliest groups' supporters. This is the funny thing about it is this is the perfect example of the socialism that we see a lot of people talking about, saying they won't. And this is us, even on a smaller scale, seeing that it does not work. They're sitting here, oh, we're going to decentralize. We're going to use this consensus of members, this collective to let this money come in and we all decide democratically what we're going to do with it. But the problem with that is when you have human nature come into effect, greed, dishonesty, manipulation, when you have negative aspects of human nature come in, you will have people that will get over. It will go awry. This is a perfect example of that. Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrice Collins told the APA that the foundation is focused on the need to reinvest into Black communities. One of our biggest goals this year is taking the dollars we are able to raise in 2020 and building out the institution we've been trying to build for the last 7.5 years, she said in an interview. I'm super interested to see what exactly they're going to be building out over the next couple of years. What does that even mean? Does that mean a facility? What's going to be, like, what would happen in that facility? What does that even mean? Building out the institution. Collins, who was already active in her native Los Angeles, where she created her own social justice organization, Power and Dignity, now became the Global Foundation's full-time executive director last year. Fellow co-founders Alicia Garza, who is a principal at Black Futures Lab, and Opal Tometi, who created a Black new media and advocacy hub called Diaspora Rising, are not involved with the foundation. Garza and Tometi do continue to make appearances as movement co-founders. In 2020, the foundation spun off its networks of chapters as a sister collective called Black Lives Matter Grassroots. The chapters, along with other Black-led local organizations, became eligible in July for financial resources through a $12 million grant fund. Although there are many groups that use Black Lives Matter or BLM in their names, less than a dozen are currently considered affiliates of the chapter network. According to the foundation's record shared with AP, several chapters, including the cities of Washington, Philadelphia, and Chicago, were notified last year of their eligibility to receive $500,000 each in funding under a multi-year agreement. Only one Black Lives Matter group in Denver has signed the agreement and received its funds in September. A group of 10 chapters called the BLM 10 rejected the foundation's funding offer last year and complained publicly about the lack of donor transparency. Foundation leaders say only a few of the 10 chapters are recognized as network affiliates. So y'all remember I did content on this where you had these few Black Lives Matter chapters that came out and they were like, what's up? Like, where's the money? Where's the transparency? Like, what's happening? You know, we're struggling to make ends meet. In a letter released November 30th, the Black Lives Matter 10 claim most chapters have received little to no financial resources from the Black Lives Matter movement since its launch in 2013. That has had adverse consequences for the scope of their organizing work, local chapters leaders told the AP. The chapters are simply asking for an equal say in this thing that our names are attached to, that they are doing in our names, said April Goggins, organizer of Black Lives Matter DC, which is a part of the Black Lives Matter 10, along with groups in Indianapolis, Oklahoma City, San Diego, Hudson Valley, New York, and elsewhere. We are Black Lives Matter. We built this, each one of us. Records show some chapters have received multiple rounds of funding in amounts ranging between $800 and $69,000, going back as far as 2016. The Black Lives Matter 10 said the amounts given have been far from equitable when compared to how much Black Lives Matter has raised over the years, but callers disagreed. So this is a supposedly alleged Black founded organization whose Black members are now saying that the organization is not equitable, is not working democratically. Like, so I'm going to link the article below. It goes on to talk about this, how they just recently, I think it says in like 2019, maybe even as late as 2020, went on to file for their non-profit status. And now that they've done that, some of this information will have to be more transparent through federal funds. I just think it's so funny when we find these organizations or whoever that don't practice what they preach. It's also interesting that in just a short amount of time, we now see that unarmed murders or police brutality are going back to being swept under the rug. We had corporations that made millions by posting a black square as their profile pic, and now it's cool again to sing the national anthem. This is where we've come in just a short time. And this is why I've always said, if you're following what's trendy, if you're following the hashtags, you're going to follow yourself off a cliff. It is impossible to keep up with these people. They have no actual real values that they stick and ascribe to. As soon as you have this new administration, they're like, oh, that whole police brutality thing, we were just kind of kidding about all that. We may sprinkle a little bit here to there, but now we want to go more towards the economics and the joy, because y'all ain't as mad as y'all was the last 4 years during Trump. You happy now. Black joy. you know, happy, you know? So, I mean, it's just all coming to light. Like, what more can I say than that? That's just what it is. So, you know, with time, they just show you more and more who they are. I've been saying this for years. Years ago, people thought I was crazy. Like, I don't know, maybe thought I was hating, maybe whatever. And the truth always reveals itself. It always comes to light. That is why it's problematic to support these large scale activist organizations. They are usually corporatized and propagandized. That's just what it is. And at this point, it's not a true grassroots movement. And even years ago, before the death of Darren Seals, if you don't know who Darren Seals is, you should certainly look into him. And I've done content mentioning him before. But one of the boots on the ground that was in Ferguson and now has mysteriously died, uh, but even early on, he talked about how this organization was being capitalized off of, and they were turning Black Death into a business model. So they spent however long capitalizing off y'all emotions just to be like, oh, we off that now. We moving on to something else. We don't, we may talk about that a little bit, but it's whatever at this point. We want to talk about y'all being happy because that's the vibe right now. That's the new trend. Yikes. So those are my thoughts. Leave your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.